do a Q&A session. There's a channel that you guys can see right above called Q&A. Once we're done, basically, if anyone wants to ask any questions, like write your questions there, and then I'll read them out for Anis, if it makes sense. So with that said, Anis, you can start your stream.
Cool. One sec. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep, it works.
Okay, cool. A little bit of background. Big Bang, caveman, and then I was born in Pakistan. My dad was in Dubai, and he worked his way up. He wanted to take us to the States, and for me, this has been a key, which is, your parents sacrificed for this, and you basically can worry about this. And my parents sacrificed a lot, and I really appreciate them. So I really appreciate that I can worry about this here these days. I didn't grow up rich by any means, extremely poor, but, I left for LA, or I came to the States when I was 11 and landed in JFK Airport. Feel very blessed to have such an opportunity to live in the U.S. It changed my life, and I feel like my life would be very different otherwise. Had this son that's not supposed to be here yet. Moved to, in 1997, moved to New Jersey, lived in this house or this apartment with 5 other siblings, so 7 of us. And worked at Payless and left for worked at Payless and saved up money and parents by not applying to med school. Left for art school instead. Came to LA and thought it was going to be, dope, and ended up living on a balcony and working at Papa John's Pizza. And that's basically where I formed my bad eating habits, because it was free and I didn't have to spend money at the end of the day. They would just give you free pizza to take home. Anyone that left pizza, orders that didn't get picked up. I went to Pasadena City College. It was basically free. It was a community college, and there were some art center teachers there that taught. One class was $600 for out-of-state people, which was still too much for me at the time. So I, worked at Papa John's, went here, worked at Papa John's, went here. And I did that for about 2 years. And I made friends with teachers, showed them that I really was serious. And so eventually they let me sit in classes for free. But they said on one condition, that I'd have to do homework and, really act like I was part of the class. So I did, and I eventually made it to Art Center. And I didn't want to hang my head in shame. My mom kept telling me, you can come back. It's not too late. Don't disappoint us. We made all these sacrifices for you. You can still become a doctor. And that's where the Birdman voice comes in. Show them all. So I went to Art Center in 2008, I should say. That's where I met Gavriil. We became great friends. I met a bunch of people there. The library is right here on the side. And this is a pretty iconic hallway that everyone remembers because you avoid eye contact walking down this hallway. And then you just work your butt off for a few years. And this is it. You're taking out student loans. I luckily had a scholarship, quite a big one. But even then, for living expenses, I had to take out a ton of loans. So I sank myself into student debt for, food and the supplies mainly. Art supplies cost a lot of money. So that's me during Art Center on an all-nighter. Then I met Scott Robertson, and I would say he's one of the pivotal people in my life. Without him, I would say my life would be very different. Or, I mean, I still had the fire and the drive, but he did help me hone it. I really appreciate that he gave me a chance. He didn't have to. I don't know what he saw in me. And he just, it just, I already was learning the things that I was, but working with him was a really nice experience. It was like a baby step into the professional life. And I saw, I worked with one of my other great friends, Danny Gardner. We published these the three of us co-authored these two books together in around 2010, I think. And then in 2011, I believe I got a chance to work on Rupert Sanders. He hit me up. It was just, and I will touch upon this. No one knows that your work is good and that you're worth it other than you. And if you don't post online and you don't, do publicity for yourself, no one's going to call you up for work. So do yourself a favor, post every day and get your name out there, because no one else is going to find you there. So especially if you want to survive this COVID crisis and the job crisis, it's awful what's happening. And in order to survive, I mean, that's what's motivated me since COVID hit. I was like, F that. I'm not going to be left behind. Like I'm not going to, just not post because I think it's cool, to not have exposure. Anyway, this should have taught me a life lesson, but not back then. I was 21 or something. And I was like, it just flew over my head. I was like, oh, I just got lucky. He found my image on Google. Oh, actually, I designed that castle. I think it's from my painting on the cover here. But anyway, my goal all this time was, and I wanted to touch upon this, and I'm going to make this super fast, as fast as I can. But the one thing I found in my now 30s, and if I could go back in my 20s, and if I was an older brother to myself, the one thing I would tell myself was, don't lose sight of your roots, don't lose sight of your goals, and make sure that you remember your goals, because that's what'll keep you centered and grounded. And that's the reason where your fire and your purpose comes from. And I knew that at 21, but I lost sight of it, and especially after I achieved them. And I think Tony Robbins or someone else talks about the fact that there's another thing you have to worry about, and most people don't think about this because they think they'll never achieve their goal to begin with, and that is you got to have a goal after the goal. So I felt hopeless after my initial goal because all I wanted to be was become a successful concept artist and buy my parents a house, which I did around 24, and I lost purpose. Then I was like, all right, now what? Now I just become a cog in the machine, and, I'm nothing, right? So, what is this? I'm just doing tricks. Like someone pays me and I dance, right? And then, life experiences happened. Gav and I, we bonded over our mutual relationship stuff. And so this comes back to this, I find that if you stick to this outer circle, it gives you reward for the inner stuff. But if you lose sight of this physical environment and individual and society stuff and social, all this stuff, you basically, your innermost self will suffer. So all of this, if this gets affected, you'll have a lot of problems with this. And I found that I was really struggling here because this was underdeveloped for me in my 20s, and I have a lot of reasons why, but those are too personal to get into. But for the most part, I would say that find your purpose, and your purpose for me should be out here. It shouldn't be in here. And, being a good concept artist, okay, everyone wants that. But why do you want to be a good concept artist? So why do you get up every day? All that other stuff, And for me, it's family. It always has been. And when I was able to buy my parents a house, I was like, all right, now what do I do after this? And I didn't have a family. I went through heartbreak, blah, blah, blah. Everyone does that same old story. But I lost sight, and I didn't have a reason to continue. So more and more and more. And then cut to 2015. I went to South Africa to work on the Dark Tower movie, and it was in Cape Town. It's a beautiful place. If you've never been, go visit. They have amazing wine farms. It's really sad to hear that during COVID, they're all shutting down because they're all struggling, and it's amazing. Although there's a lot of, there are townships and favelas there, which is really sad. There's a lot of poverty, but there's also a lot of beauty. So I met the most amazing person I've ever met, and because of her, I've become less angry and more happy. And, she's just like blunted the edges, so to speak, in a good way. And this is the night we met her parents, and this is us on our baby shower. We were just 3 months in or something. This is the baby, our boy Adam, and because of that, I found happiness and purpose and the reason to exist. And all of a sudden, I found my fire again. And all these years that it was missing, I realized it was because this is the next step that I needed. And that was for me. Maybe you like cats and you want to start a cat farm, or you want to go, save animals, polar ice caps. I don't know what your purpose is, but this was my purpose. And this always will be, and this is the reason I exist. So I found my rocket ship and my fuel. That's it. So with that, this is my just professional work. Let me see if I can Control F. Actually, I've never actually presented in. I'm just going to scroll here. You guys can just see my screen. Don't you go window, view. Is there a presentation mode? There we go. Control L. So this is from Alita Battle Angel. I had a lot of fun. Ben Proctor, Dylan Cole. I was working on this as well as Avatar at the same time. We were just at Lightstorm Entertainment. I met Jonathan Berube there, Nick Chandro, a bunch of other really cool people. And these are just some paintings. So I'm just going to scrub through this quick. So I've broken this up into like 10-minute increments, this presentation. This stuff a lot of it is online, so it's nothing new. This is from Ghost in the Shell. I had a lot of fun working on this scene. I'm not sure if it made it into the movie. I can't remember. And then I had a chance to become a production designer on a TV series for DreamWorks recently. I ultimately left due to health reasons after about a year, and I don't know if I won't get into it, but I figured out for the first time in my life that I was not invulnerable, that I am privy to stress, and if you take on too much stress, your body starts reacting. So I did that and realized the power of health and exercise and the fact that, admitting that you're aging. And so this project especially made me realize I needed to focus on my health, even though it was just, we didn't have a lot of budget. We had 53 episodes in like a year to deliver, and it was insane schedule. And artists were great, the team that I had, but we didn't have enough support. So anyway, life lesson learned. But this was some art that we made, or this is just some art that I had made on it. And this is from Tron Uprising. Worked with Alberto Mielgo when I was 21, 22, somewhere there. It was a great, learning experience. I met June On there. I met Von Ling there. And it was great. I formed a lot of really good relationships with a lot of good people that I still keep to today. And the director, Charlie Bean, we're actually really good friends, and we still talk to this day. It was a good time looking back. And Ghost in the Shell again, Maddie's Room. Set was, this is collaboration with Joe Hira, amazing set designer. This was another Ghost in the Shell piece. And you can see, I will say here, this time right here was when I was going through, all the mental stuff, and I was just bullshitting my way through life at this point because I'd lost my way. I just feel, looking back, I'm very frustrated but it was a lesson learned, and I feel like you prove to yourself that you can get back up and you can do it and find purpose, and it's never too late. So just if you stumble, it's okay. Just, you don't need anyone's permission. That's my main goal that I want to, I always tell people, and I have like friends that I've made on Fast and Furious that are, junior artists that keep asking me, how do I get ahead? What do I do? And I unofficially, mentor them, as friends. And I tell them, it's just, they don't need my permission to post. They don't need my permission to get up, stay up tonight instead of watching Netflix and work and create artwork. But the thing is, the one thing that I found that changed my life is this is my personal series, Plumehead. I really enjoy working on this, and I probably will keep working on it for a while. I'm working on a short film for it, and I'll show you guys that in a little bit. But the thing I want to, and this is from South Africa. This was actually built over a stripped over mall. It was an abandoned mall, and I was actually really worried. You can see the floors caving in here, and people are just standing there like, no problem. That's the production designer, Chris Glass, super cool guy. And that's just us on Recce, they call it. This is another scene. I forgot what the name of the set was called. It was a lot of fun to work on. I really enjoyed my time there. I unofficially got experience as art director in films with this because we didn't have a lot of crew over there. So I got to help construct or help oversee construction for these things, and it was really quite fun. And I hung out with Chris a lot, and we just really bonded over this time, and I met my wife, and I'll forever be grateful. And the movie didn't do that well, but I don't care because it, being there in South Africa changed my life forever because I met my wife. So this was the same shot. So I took this on the Tech Scout, and this was my proposal on how to dress it. And I was blown away by the fact that when I walked there, I don't have the actual set photo in this doc because I couldn't find it last night. But it was insane that the prop department, the set, they just like turn everything. It literally looked like this. Even the lighting, they touched up, like they boarded up the lighting upstairs, and it really looked like this. I was blown away. And it was like overnight in less than like 2 weeks. I don't know how they did it. This is another set. And anyway, this is Jungle Book, Jon Favreau. I met Jonathan Bach there, Andrew Leong, quite a few other people, made really good friends again on the project. Another scene from Jungle Book. This is the Many Village. And this is Mowgli taking the fire back and accidentally burning into the entire jungle. This is another shot of the Many Village, inspired by villages in India, as well as I found some really cool villages in the Philippines, I think. Just a set of photos, and I kind of photo bashed a lot of it and also sketched a lot of it. So anyway, another proposal. It's all out of sequence, and it's not really in sequence, but whatever. Mowgli being taken to the temple. This is him and Bagheera walking out into the plains. And this is the beginning of the movie, right, where they're walking out of the jungle. Another Fast and Furious painting. This is the first painting I did to kind of try to get a look down for the show. And this is more or less where we tried to end up, but we didn't really succeed. I'll hold my comments on how I feel about the show, but yeah. So Dark Tower, this was this is a really quick painting, but it was inspired by the Great Depression in the 1930s. I can't remember what the exact date was for the Great Depression, but yeah. So anyway, keep going. I'm just going to get through this because you guys, you can just go to anisenaeem.com and find a lot of this stuff. Maybe some of this stuff you can't, and a lot of it is low res, so this is a bit high res. This is from Drive or Blast. Some published artwork. This is the first foray into 3D here. This is the draw-through method. I learned from Scott. I remember, Gav was in the same class. We all learned this, and it was super helpful. And I didn't think I was going to use it, and here I am in grease pencil 10 years later, and I'm doing it. Exact same thing. So it all pays off, and it's all connected. Although you don't think you're going to use it, but you train your brain in it, and then you don't need it to draw, if that makes any sense. So I have been using it for 10 years. Lion King, some initial pitch art. This is when we were in the pitch phase. So it's just some art I did. I didn't work on the actual movie because I left to go to, I can't remember, but I think I left to go work on Avatar instead. So God of War, Luke Berliner, really cool guy. Rafael Grassetti, and he's the art director, and Luke was the lead on it. And I briefly did contract work for this. Actually, this was the project I worked on before I went to South Africa. I left here to go work on Dark Tower and meet my wife. And I was, looking back, I was like, oh man, I shouldn't be leaving. It's one of my best projects I've ever worked on. I love it so much. I'm so happy. I love Sony. What am I doing? And I'm really glad I did. Otherwise, I wouldn't have met, or my life wouldn't have changed. Some additional photo or renders from various sets in God of War, some additional stuff, production art, and blah, blah, blah. And this is another pitch for Lion King, some more Jungle Book stuff, and some more random art, Dark Tower, more stuff. I'm just going to get through this at this point. I'm not really happy with this, blah, blah. Okay, that's it. So I'm going to sorry, 1 second. I'm going to stop sharing my screen just to reorient, and I'll share now. 1 minute. Work. Went through the work folder. Great. So now let's get to a bit more of the interesting stuff. Go to screens again, and screen 1. Great. I think we're on track. I didn't spend too much time on this other stuff. Okay. So this is interesting. I filmed stuff years ago that I thought I'd never finish, but I'm glad I took the journey. I made a lot of bad short films that I failed on. I lost a lot of money on, but I learned a lot on. And I applied to AFI, which is American Film Institute, here in California, because I wanted to get into the directing program. My friend Anthony Leonardi, he's done a few features, and he's a pretty big commercial director. He was kind of mentoring me. I met him he was actually, when I met him, he was working next to me as a concept artist on Jungle Book, and I didn't know he was a director, so we became friends, and over the years I worked on some commercials with him. He fully transitioned into directing, but he kind of was like, you don't need to go to AFI, dude. And I was really adamant about it. But I would have racked up crazy amounts of student debt, and I decided not to go in the end. And I decided instead of taking out all the money from student loans, I would just, make my own short films and make my way. So these are things I'm not embarrassed by, so I put these online. But there are plenty of private videos that I've made that I failed or not finished. And so I decided I'll make my own film school. And so anyway, this is a PSA that I made. I've never shown this to anyone. I secretly put this online. It's a work in progress. I started this when I was like 25, and then I never finished it. Most of the work I did in here, I did in like 2 months, and just stopped altogether. It works?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, cool.
Kind cannot explain or control even his own existence. Through time, our kind has looked to the stars for answers. Why? How? Where? To seek them, we must always venture into the unknown. Throwing ourselves into the abyss of chance, clad only with bravado. Leaving it to chance could mean the difference between a fool or a hero. But a man is always prepared, protecting against the unknown and living his life not at the mercy of chance. But in the hands of choice. Airtight protection for deep space exploration. Condoms. Don't leave it to chance.
So I was like, for a while, I was like, I'm going to be a commercial director. And I was trying to make these like dumb fake commercials. And I saw a commercial on TV where two people kissing and they ran to the grocery store and they went to go buy condoms. And I was like, oh, you know, what? That's so stupid. Like, I don't want to watch that. That's dumb. And why don't you just make something look like a sci-fi movie? Wouldn't that be cool? And you catch the attention and someone's like, what's that? And then all of a sudden it's a condom ad. So you got the hook. But I never finished it. So I never actually saw how it would be received. And so there are so many shots that I would redo. Like a lot of this, like this is right here. I just took some, like a random sign. It's not even the final shot that I would, but I lost the project files and hard drive crashes. So might as well just put this out. And so all of this is like scratch audio. So a lot of the editing is not accurate, but whatever. Then there's this, and I posted this. It was nice. Like this was my first ever foray into, and it had no story, but people thought it did back in 2009, 2010. So there, you know, you can find it online on my website. I'm not even going to try to play it because at looking back, it's a little embarrassing. I thought it was so cool back then, but it's just silly. I did it for a class in Art Center, and then this was this. So anyway, cut to many other trials and tribulations later. Finally have this. So can you see my, oh, you're still, can you see this, my screen, like a new window popped up?
Yeah, the video, you mean this private video?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it works.
So right now, my main focus is this project, which it ties into the Plumehead universe that I'm working on. It's a feature film idea that I have, and I'm just doing it for fun, and I don't even care if it doesn't sell. It's just I'm using it to expand all my skills as a filmmaker, as an editor, and VFX, and grow as an artist. And I realized like I enjoy this, and I'm going to enjoy the process, and fuck the rest. So this is my we filmed this, and I spent too much money on this thing. I mean, I won't say how much. When I say too much, it was too much for me at the time, but I'm sure to someone else. And Rudy Schaefer, he's an art director on Avatar, one of my great friends. We met in Art Center. He's a production designer, and I'm sure he'll make a great production designer on feature films one day. He's already art director on Avatar. Anyway, he helped production design this shoot for me, and he helped build this the set and everything. And he's an amazing person. I can't thank him enough. So anyway, this is
got your back, Mikey.
There it is, Hawkeye. You are all clear to engage. Hawkeye, I got a bogey on my tail!
God damn it!
Hawkeye, do it all!
Mikey!
I can't shake it!
Mikey! Mikey,
Hawkeye, do it!
Mikey, no!
Officer Watkins, get me the coordinates of Raptor 1 now. Son of a... Hawkeye, you're deviating from your strike objective.
Ah!
God damn it, son. This is not about your personal vendetta. fall back and return to base now! Hawkeye, you're showing damage to aft ejection ram. Return immediately to Fog 201 for repair.
I see you, Colonel. I got a clear shot. We're never gonna get a better shot than this.
I am ordering you. Stand down.
I got this, Colonel.
Damn it, son, this is not the plan.
Trust me.
Do not fire the UCBT. Detonation failure is at 90% in this scenario. Pull out now!
I got this, Colonel.
And that's where I'm at for the edit, at least. And this was years ago. And I thought, oh, fuck, I'll never finish this. But here I am. And so let me just share my actual screen now, because we'll probably not be playing audio anymore. So change windows. Can you see this?
Yep, works.
Okay. So, the other problem that I had was the fact that I had a limitation in hardware a few years back. I was learning 3ds Max, and I was using my Moto, all these programs, and I was getting so disheartened because there was just so much to learn. And not only that, but everything was CPU based, and I couldn't do anything. I had a Xeon processor still, and waiting for one render. Grant Warwick, he has some tutorials on there, and he showed how to do VizDev on V-Ray. And this is I'm going back 8 years at this point. And I remember watching his tutorials, and he's brilliant. And he had this method of rendering little pixels of the image, not the whole image, and and just a little bucket, a little square of the entire image, and figuring out if that looks good enough to actually render. And it was a whole process. Anyway, GPUs changed everything. They've really accelerated. We live in crazy times now. So with that, it's really given me the opportunity to learn Blender, which is an extremely powerful program, and through that be motivated to learn Houdini and some other programs eventually. But I'm pre-vising my entire short, so these are just some shots that I have from it, and having a lot of fun. You can see the jump from the 3ds Max shots that I had of the previs versus this, and this is previs at this point. So I'm excited to actually make this look like finished shots with compositing and so on. This is the same shot. Sorry. This is another previs shot. This is basically real time with 2 RTX cards in my. I know EV only uses one video card. Someone clarified that last time. But for me, it's insane. I was back in 2016. I was hoping just to get this at render time through 3ds Max, and I didn't know how I was going to do it. Now this isn't good enough for me. Now this is previs. So I'm excited. Octane will be used to render the whole thing, and we'll see. And then we have, I did come out with a tutorial for this, but I'm not going to try to sell you on it. This is just some storyboarding in Blender using this just to make sure I don't get, bogged down. So I was just developing this for myself, and a lot of people messaged me about it. So I just took a left turn and decided I'm just going to do a tutorial just to answer all the questions and be open about what I learned. It's been fun. So this is kind of one of the shots that I have for one of the scenes. And yeah, so if you can imagine, take out the jets, put in an alien ship, blah, 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 take the clouds, which I already have assets for. It'll totally work really well. So I'm excited about that. Yeah, so let's go to the demo portion of this. Now we have, let's see, renders, 3D. In classic Naeem fashion, I was like, oh, I'm working on my Jet short film. Why don't I work on something instead that has nothing to do with it? So about 2 weeks ago, after releasing my drawing tutorial and like storyboarding tutorial, which seemed to go over well, I had always had this idea since the Lamborghini Terzo came out that I would do this like Lamborghini commercial for my directing reel for commercials. So I've been playing with the style these last 2 weeks. I've been badgering Gavriil quite a bit in my over Facebook, and these are just some tests. I'm just gonna play random ones here. So this is just kind of like work in progress, and Blender's physics are total whack, but these are all my experiments that I have for it so far. And does anyone VLC player? This is annoying. It keeps adding it to the library if it's open, which is bizarre. So I keep having to, I'll just keep this here. Whoops, sorry. Okay, good thing the desktop's clean. Let's open Blender and VLC, and finally get my window back here. That's another thing I don't like, what Windows does that. Just randomly decides to go to your desktop. So anyway, one sec. I have a better way to play this. I'm going to right click, open with Windows Media Player, and just drop it in there every time. So that's better. Now you can watch a bit more of the loop. So there's that. So this is another shot test for the Terzo commercial. Here's another, and you'll see this develop. I'm playing it in sequence, so you'll see like it's starting to come alive. And here's another. And then here's another. So I tried to test a motion blur and graphic quality to it, and I'm still kind of torn in between the two. Now there's like, I put the camera at Dutch, and then you boom up as the car follows. So I built like a fake car rig to follow this other car rig, or camera rig, I should say, to follow the car rig. And then, so this is all grease pencil, 100% 3D. I'll try to walk through the file in a little bit so you can actually see it from another angle. Here we go. There's another. So I'll skip a few shots forward, see if I get to. Okay, so here I'm putting in these grease pencil elements that you can, like flash animated, a la Alberto Mielgo inspired, where, when he like freeze frames and then you see like a 2D effect. But I mean, this is all 2D, so it's not really copying him in any way. It's just like, I'm just putting 2D effects on top of this 3D effect anyway. But I love his work anyway, so why not just give him some props? Yeah, so just fading it out. Now that follows a little bit better, which looks a little nicer. And then we got this. I took away the fill. I just did the line quality, which looks better. And let's just go here. So this, I did some physics and put some leaves in the foreground, if you notice that. And this is the final test for this scene. So I think I'm finished with this shot, at least for now, for all the foreground elements. And right now, in the demo version, we're going to make a quick background for this because I spent this entire last week pulling my non-existent hair out at this point about trying to figure out like a look for the background. So there's been a lot of frustration, and yeah. So let's see what this is. I forgot. Oh yeah, so this is the 2D effect that I painted in grease pencil, like frame by frame animation. And it's so easy to do. Grease pencil is just amazing. And then I just took that 3D object, parented it to an empty, parented that empty to the car, and it just travels with the car, and then like, you know, added some object constraints, and it follows the car. So with that said, here's some cloud tests. So this is some environment tests that I'm working on, and I'm just animating some noise layers to see. So all of the rest is grease pencil here. Whoops, there's nothing here. There's a 1 kilobyte file. Okay, so I don't know what happened there. These are some tests for the actual material. So let's maximize this. I'm trying to get a marker, like I'm trying to push the sketch look that I sort of made in my last bit, and really go for like, because I was a car design major when I first entered Art Center. I read in some magazines, Sid Mead was a car design major, Ryan Church, Scott Robertson. Those are people I looked up at the time. So I was like, fine, I'll just do car design. So this is kind of going back to my roots. I switched out of car design to get into entertainment design. But anyway, I'm trying to get like a marker look. Like I want to pay homage, and I'm sure a lot of car guys will appreciate it, the pencil feel of it. And yeah, so also trying to see if I can get hatching to work, but it looks kind of like hair. So I think I'm not going to animate it that way. There's another, I like trying to get like the Canson, pastel, the charcoal, I don't know, just like really traditional feel. And then I colored in the wheels to make the car stand out when it's in other scenes and stuff. So here's another test for that. And if this is getting too boring, just post in the Q&A and I can move on faster. But this is part of the demo for me, and this is like no one's seen this other than Gavriil, Seifel, Jonathan Berube, and I think that's it. So yeah, I hope to finish this in another month because I intentionally chose a style that once I have all the assets, it's just like bam, 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 animate, 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 and no compositing, nothing. Just like put sound effects and you're done. So this is another test trying to see this versus this, like which one would look better on the wheels. And there we go. So this is where I see like I'm trying to get a marker look, and it's making it look a little digital. So I'm thinking that you'll start with the super sketchy, then you end up here in this like marker half realistic realm, and then you end up in the super realistic realm where the car goes through a tunnel and it becomes it enters a tunnel and exits into reality. You say Lamborghini Terzo. So this is where it'll start, and then it'll kind of transform into the more marker like this one, like a little bit more realistic but still kind of sketchy. And the transition will happen without you intentionally, hopefully noticing it. But if you don't notice it, whatever. So that's that. And then there's just like another style test. I was trying to see if like the color red would work. I like red in paintings for some reason. So those are all my materials tests. And let's go into one of the files and see if I can show you something cool. And there's something I figured out that I haven't seen done in Blender. So I'll just, show you guys for free, whatever, just demonstrate it here. So give me a second here. Let me just open up the file real quick. Can you guys see my Blender? Gav?
Yeah, it works.
Okay, cool. So let's open up the big one here, my rig, my entire scene. Oh, I'm using Heavy Poly, so I got to give a shout out to my friend Vaughn, always. He's a great guy. and I really enjoy his company, and he's also very talented. So if you want to learn Blender, he has some tutorials on his Gumroad, and I found that for me, working that way, like the shortcuts that he came up with, it really made the transition from like Maya, 3ds Max, Cinema 4D much easier. So you see here, I've turned off, I actually have like a custom rig, all this other stuff, but for here, there's this plugin I'm using, Car Rig Pro by 3D Vision. It's a decent enough plugin. It's got a lot of issues with it that I'm not happy with, but I would say if you want to animate cars, it at least gives you a jumping off point, and then past that, I bake the animation, and then I like hand animate certain things. But at least like moving from point A to point B and wheel orientation, you can at least get, and like certain like drifting along corners I can get, and then I can clean it up manually by hand where I'm not happy with it. Like for example, slopes, there isn't really a fix. He has a fix for it, but you can't go up on slopes. So let me it's gonna slow down my PC, but all these things, I'm gonna turn these on and then go back into my master here and turn on the grease pencil lines. And let's go back to the beginning. So it's all parented. And let's go to VC rendered. There we go. Okay. So you can see there's a bit of a reflection there. This is kind of the car in 3D. So as you can see, I'm really trying to get the feel of the marker look. And of course, the noise will have to be adjusted in relation. Like if my camera's doing a GoPro shot, like that's attached to the car like this, obviously I'll have to, reduce the noise on here. But for the most part, where's my environment? Oh, there it is. Cool. So there it is, and it's pretty simple, but I gotta say, grease pencil is the jam. Let me go to turn this into a timeline so I can, because I can't actually play this. It's gonna lag super hard. That's why I had all those things turned off, because I already know what they look like, so I don't need them there all the time. But let's go into one of our cameras, like a different camera than you're used to. So V001, that's already one that you are familiar with. Crane camera. So this is a different shot here. Let's see here. Crane camera, another one. So this is the actual filming cam. I should probably rename that to Final Cam or something. But anyway, these are some lines, all in grease pencil and just animated. And I figured out a few other things. And so I am going to self-promote here real quick. I started a Patreon last night, and a lot of people complained that my tutorial that I made on grease pencil was too expensive. And I guess I should have lowered the price, but I felt it was a good enough price, but they keep asking me if I had a Patreon instead and with something cheaper. So for $10 a month, I decided, you know what, I work every single night anyway. My son goes to sleep at 8:30, and then from 8:30 till 1 a.m. every single night, like 7 days a week, I do this stuff. So why don't I just record this every single night and put it up? So if you want to learn how to make this, I'll be starting tonight, hopefully, and tomorrow I'll be posting daily updates. As I'm not going to say every single day, but as much as I can. So it's on patreon.com/AnisNaeem if you're interested, and you can watch me grow, watch me fail, and get all these updates on stuff that I probably won't be posting as much on social media, at least the walkthroughs. So we got this here. But yeah, so it comes around a bend, and now that everything's set up, everything's connected to this one path here, right? And then now whenever I do my other scenes, I'll just like change the path, change the speed of the car, and film all my scenes, do my camera animation, like, and then like the camera's like whipping past here, add additional elements, and then call it a day. So I think I've bored you enough with that. Here's a quick file that's showing, let's go to rendered. Let's see if you can kind of see. So these are the leaves, and Blender's physics is totally effed, but I finally cracked the code. There are like so many little, it's the one thing that's frustrating to me about Blender, and it's half-baked. Blender is an amazing program for everything else, but definitely not for physics, I would say. But since I'm so in love with Blender, I'm just dealing with it. But so I just kind of took where the car passes on the road and just made some grease pencil lines here, made a collection out of it called Leaves, and animated a force field going across, and a vortex attached to it. It's turbulence and vortex. So turbulence on tires, and this is vortex here. And it just animates across just in 10 frames, and it whips up the leaves, and the camera flies through. It doesn't look too much like leaves, but as it's flying through, it's enough for you to get the idea. So that's kind of fun, and yeah. And let's see if I can find something else for you guys. Here's another test for bendy lines. So this was my initial test for, let's play this because I'll be able to play that. So I kind of wanted to get like a pencil lines following the car. And so it's going to be like kind of inspired by Tron, but not really. Just it's the only similarity is the fact that it's leaving behind a trail. But other than that, like this could be skid marks on the ground. It could be like, other sketch lines following the actual car. So I've done a lot of exploration on this stuff. It's been a lot of fun. I've learned in the last week or two, I've learned a lot of stuff about Blender. So let's see. I've figured out, the other thing people keep asking, how do you do it? It's if you have a problem, just like break it out into a new file and just attack only that problem. And enough, like if you break it down into smaller steps long enough, you'll find the solutions. And I didn't think this was possible, but grease pencil modifiers, you can hook stuff and, do all these other things. And then you have all these other effects. But anyway, this is like it bending around, seeing how that can work, which is quite like pretty fun. Let's tune test. So, all right, I think that's enough of that. Let's kind of jump into our, let's do this. Let's open this. So what I've been trying to do, and now I was pulling my hair out over this last night, but I haven't figured out the whole thing yet, but so this only works right now with my rig if I set this to emitter instead of hair, which is super frustrating. I don't know why, but you can see that they're all facing the camera here. Where did it go? Camera, billboard. So this is my camera here. I'll just make it bigger so I can find it. Right? And I rigged, so if I move this, you can see these moving. Right? And this is my low poly version of this, and this is going to be for the background stuff because I don't want, and of course I'll have to stop the trees from actually falling, so I'll just leave this here for now and then kind of move around, and you can see that all the trees actually follow the camera, which is quite nice. And once I sketch in, and I'll be showing now how to do that. It's a super rad thing, which I found out. I didn't know Blender had this. I thought only 3D Coat had it, but you can actually take this, and I'll open up a different file where I already have it set up. So let's go to Mountain 101. No. Asset trees. There we go. And let's go to rendered here. Cool. So I, sketched grease pencil stuff on here, and you can see there's a mountain in the background, and there's a lot of stuff I don't like about this. I was trying to get like, there's this, where would I have posted it? Let's go to my ArtStation real quick. I've been sort of toying with this like grainy style that I've been doing lately, and it's this like Conquistador series that I was working on. In this series, like, you can see the grain all here, and I wanted to kind of get that effect into my short here, but it kind of looks like I'm trying to make it look like charcoal, but I feel like I'm just going to stick with an actual gradient because it becomes too noisy. But other than that, here are some trees that I very quickly, and I'm trying to see if I can animate this noise inside. So this is my tree here from Grease Pencil. Super easy to make. There's just 2 layers. One is the actual tree stump, and then the other is the leaf. And it really makes it feel gestural, sketching directly in Grease Pencil, and taking it here, and just using the particle system. I believe, Floor, if you have a question about this, I do cover it in one of my tutorials. And there's also another tutorial on YouTube. I can't remember who it was. But you can scatter rocks. Or was it Florent Lebrun? He has a tutorial on just scattering rocks and stuff inside Blender, which is helpful. So just so I'm not only promoting myself, go watch Florent's tutorial if you want to learn something. I'm trying to get access to this so I can show you how it works. There we go. Finally, I found. Sorry, I could be in material mode so I can see things better. There's some planes here, and if I play it, it's kind of cool. Like, I got this animated noise that I made on a plane, and I'm trying to blend it, so that's why I have to get rid of the noise because it's too noisy that the effect is lost. But I'm trying to make it so that it looks like the trees get erased. And so we'll take a look at how I scattered the trees to begin with. Let's pause the animation. So basically it says I did it as an emitter. I should do it as hair, which I'll look into in a little bit after this. But yeah, so emission 200, blah, blah, blah. The main thing is you want to set your render to collection. So then you put all of these trees in a collection right here, and you go, to your particle system here, and you say, okay, take my collection called trees, pick them at random and their object scale, and then you set your own scale here as well and scale randomness, so you can see that that's what it's doing. And take them and then take their rotation on global X and randomize that a little bit and make sure the velocity is at 0. And yeah, that's really all the settings. And lifetime is at 500. And then the main thing that I did was the Vertex Scripts. So on this, you want to go here and go to weight paint and create a new Vertex Script. And then in weight paint mode, let's go to isolate so you can actually see what's happening. Just paint where you want the trees to show up. Because without that, if we go back into modifiers and object mode, weight paint, let's see if it lets us stay in weight paint. Turn that off. You see? They're everywhere. So it's a really easy way to simply control your trees. And now you can actually just up the count, whatever you want, you know, and that's it. So super easy. Of course, you can do grass. There's a really great plugin. And for some reason, it wasn't working with Grease Pencil, so that's why I have to do this manually. But the scatter plugin here, where did it go? Right here. It's amazing because there are a lot of options in here. Of course, you could do this for free, like visibility here, viewport display. You can, of course, pull this down, you know, and only display this much so your viewport doesn't lag. And then when you render, it actually renders full. But it's, with the scatter plugin, it's all here. So I would suggest if you want to make environments and stuff in Blender, it's a really handy plugin. So let's unisolate everything and go back here. So let's actually do something that isn't me just pointing at files. And I'm trying to figure out what would be the best file. There's a, I guess this will work here. So let's open this file back up here. And we'll turn this off here. And there we go. So I'm just going to take this here and turn it off for now. Whoops, not the actual, let's take the particles and turn them off because that's not what I want right now. And take this and turn the trees and all that stuff off. So let's move that into the tree cards as well. Great. So, oh, and real quick, if you have a question about how I made the trees, follow, whoops. You see the cards facing camera at all times. And when you go up, it doesn't actually go up. If you go into object constraints, you have to add two simple track to and limit rotation. Without this, it'll follow the camera all the time. You see, and the rest of the cards stay where they are. So basically, let's just go to rendered view. You'll see the problem. You see, if I go up, it'll just be flat. And so I kind of want it to, it'll look a little out of perspective. And with this, it's a little finicky, but you just have to, if it's a 0, 0, it doesn't work. So let me actually set these both to 0. Well, it's working now, but it wasn't working when I initially had it. So you have to trust me that you have to turn this on and just like 0.01, 0.01 on both, and it should, or something a little bit above 0, and then it'll lock it into place and it won't rotate in every direction. So that's the tip on that for those trees in case you have a question about it later. But here, let's go into material mode and let's take off the graphic. Let's go to object, press home, and I have an emission set up. But let's go to principled BSDF here. And this is so rad. I mean, I couldn't believe it when I heard it. So, or not when I heard it, when I found a random comment on YouTube saying that this was possible, and then I began my detective work to figure out how it's possible. And for a whole week, I couldn't figure it out. But finally, yesterday was like one click that I was missing. So here we go. Let's go to our camera here. Let's go to camera on X, view cam, right? And press N. So let's go into our texture paint tab. And I'm going to actually turn this guy off and just keep this one on. And I made this in Gaia or World Creator. I have both programs, so I can't remember which one I made. It took me 2 seconds. You just like pull out some stuff. I'm not going to demo how to make it because I didn't spend more than 5 minutes on it. Put some erosion on there. And then I took this and brought it in, decimated it using a decimation, which I applied already, so it's not here anymore. And Then you have your UVs here, which you can't really see too well, but there we go. Are they here? Where are they? Okay, yeah. So in order for this process to work, your thing has to be UV'd. And what's nice about World Creator and Gaia is it'll UV the landscape for you. So if not, you could just go to top view and press V, project from view, and that should be enough for you to do this thing I'm going to show you. We're going to sketch over this in Photoshop, and then it'll bring it back and apply it from whatever view that you're painting from onto here, and it's just unreal. So let's do that. So make sure your stuff is UV'd. Then you go into texture paint, and you could go be in modeling, but it's easier because texture paint already has it all set up for you. So I have you have to apply first and foremost a material to your object. So just press Shift V. If you're using Bond scripts, make a new material, and you make sure this, it took me a whole week to figure out that this is why it wasn't working. I needed to click fake user because of the next step. It just, Blender needs to store this. It would work, and then I'd save my file, I'd open it, and it'd all be gone, and Blender wouldn't use it. So if it's content that Blender is creating within it, it's just always helpful to create this little shield icon on it, and it'll write it into the blend file and protect it for when you close Blender. Super important and very easy to overlook. Okay, so let me take this and press Shift D, paste it into place, and just move it up a little bit. And, okay, and go back into texture paint, and let's start with our material here. So the other thing you have to do, make sure your thing's open here. You can, the easiest way to do it is to press Control T on your material, and it'll drop this stuff on here, which is a material file. But I found that it is one way, but then there's like some under the hood stuff that Blender does for you that doesn't work if you do it that way. So you must come in here under Tool for your texture paint. Make sure that you press the plus sign here and click Base Color. And when you click that, it'll create this material here, and it'll pop it in here, and it'll make an image, okay? Super important. Make sure this is enabled, and make sure that this shield icon here is enabled, and make sure this is all enabled. Just got to triple check everything, and make sure your file is saved, because for some reason it doesn't work if you haven't saved your file like at least once. It can't be a brand new file. So now we'll take this and go down to Options, and then go to External, and set our screen grab size. So I set it to 4K, and press Quick Edit. Bam. It opens up in Photoshop. Now let me find my Wacom pen. Great. So I'm just going to demonstrate real quick. Let me put you guys on a different screen because I don't want you to accidentally see professional work. Go live. Great. So you can see my Photoshop file again. The reason I wanted to pull this up is because I'm trying to keep the demo short, but like just to give you the knowledge rather than watching you paint, watching me like draw for 5 minutes, which isn't really the purpose here. So basically, I already mapped the camera. So this is from a different file. This was a test I did real quick in Photoshop to figure out a look. So I kind of made 3 different looks. Like this was more of a charcoal look, or like a pastel-y look on like Canson board, which I wasn't happy with. I was kind of happy with this and kind of happy with that. And so I kind of took this mountain here that I painted, and I brought it in here. So this is the actual file that Blender opened up for us, right? So let's just steal what we have from this file that we already have. So I'm just going to copy and paste these two layers. So let's take Control A, Control C, Control Shift V into place, and then Control A, Control C, and then Control Shift V into place. So now it's pasted, I did, and this is not matching up right now because the camera angle's kind of changed a little bit. But what I tried to do was try to find the creases in my environment and painted some strokes on there, right? And I didn't finish all the way, but you can kind of get the idea. And then I added some other additional details on top just to test it out. And then this is super important. So you can see it's a PNG file, so it can't have layers. And you can't, you can, if you want, paste this, leave this on here, but then it'll apply this whole texture without this transparency. So you need to get these two things, flatten the entire thing, press Control S, and then exit. You could leave it open if you want. And here, go back in here and press Apply. Bam. Control Space. There we go. So now, if I go into Rendered and go into my thing here, it looks like you painted this, cool little mountain in Blender. And the nice thing about it is, and this is super cool, I can't sing Blender's praises enough. It makes everything so easy. You can go different angles. Like I can go in here, right? And take this, and I don't even need to make a camera. I just made it in case I lose my work and then I want to go back and recalibrate or redo it. That's the only way. But you can actually do this just with your viewport, so you don't have to go through this step. So let's do the viewports version here. Let's say we want to go in here and there's a particular scene, like we zoom in here and there's like a person or something happens and you want to high res this a little bit. So let's take that. Let's go back into object mode, then go into texture paint mode. Well, this becomes available again, and just press quick edit once again. Great, brought it in. And I use this, this is practically just a guide layer that you can use. And let's just take, I'm just going to, I don't know, whatever. I'm not even going to try to spend time on it because that's not the purpose of the demonstration. Control E, Control S, go back into Blender, apply. There we go. It's there. And you can continue to do this, again, just to drive the point home. Quick edit. And let's, that's why I do it in material mode, so I can actually see the form changes, but I'll just pretend, So let's pretend that the mountain's kind of rolling over, doing all this. And turn that off, Control E, Control S, go back, apply. And there it is. So super painterly, and it works really quite well with the grease pencil stuff. So that's why I have, these other trees. So this, all this visual noise will be available once I Oh, and like, again, like you already know this, but see this opening here? That's just because that's also why I like making a new camera, because I can make the lens a 200 millimeter. So there isn't extreme perspective. And then what I can do then is simply like there's less likely to be these like hidden, areas that are out of perspective, at least from a certain view. But if you did it from here, then you'd have that over there. So you can just do a quick edit again, apply, and bring it all into perspective. So here, just to show you though, it's made all of these other files for you, and it stores those files in your actual project library here. So just so you can see, you can move them later into a texture folder. I'm sure there's an option in Blender where you can actually tell it where to store, but you can see this was created right now at 10:24 a.m. If I open this up, this is all it looks like, and then that, and then that. And these are just some tests I did from yesterday. So, yeah. I mean, this is such a big game changer for me to get a stylized look, and I figured this would be a nice, sweet, short demo, but it's such like a big impactful piece of knowledge that I thought it'd be worthwhile sharing. And with that, if you guys have any questions at all, we can open it up to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Anis, for the awesome presentation. All right, we're gonna go now into. I wanna read the questions for you. Give me a moment.
Sure.
Okay, so the first question is from Noor. He wrote, the sense of motion combined with the hand-drawn marker look is awesome, and you're animated shorts. Question, I'm looking to upgrade my graphics card. Do you have any GPU recommendation for concept art?
Yes. I would say the 2080 RTX Ti, that's what I have. And I had 1080s GTXs before, and I would say two of them couldn't stand up to one of these cards. And if you're looking to upgrade and you don't have a lot of money for like multiple cards, just one RTX card. I have a 2080. If you can afford one of them, that's enough for you to get, because Eevee only uses one of these anyway. So, it's not programmed to harness both at the time. The two RTX cards come into play when you jump into Cycles or Octane, and that really changed the game for me. So, RTX.
Cool. So the second question is from Patrick. It says, how intense was working with the Lightstorm crew, and what was your day-to-day, what were your day-to-day tasks there? Thanks for your time.
Sure, thank you. Well, the Lightstorm crew, I would say it's one of the best jobs I've ever had. James Cameron, he's like a high-level thinker, and Ben Proctor, he's a living mad scientist genius. Dylan Cole, another living genius. It's just they're all, A+ heavy hitters. And John Landau, the producer, really great. And over there, I just felt like the one thing that I can say about Lightstorm is I never heard anyone say we can't do that. I know it's because they have like millions of dollars in funding, and it's like one of the most expensive movies being made. But even then, I've been on so many other projects where people love to say, the first thing they love saying is no. And I hate hearing that. And it's the one thing that's driven me insane over the years on other projects, because when you say no without even thinking or trying to come up with a solution, when you're blue skying stuff, it really kills everyone else's creativity and really limits the project. So the one thing I can say about Lightstorm is no one says no. Everyone says yes, we can. And that's the attitude. And over there, I met Jonathan Berube. We became super close friends. We shared an office together, Nick Jengro. And I would say every day from 9 a.m. to like 9 p.m., we would work endlessly, and it was so much fun because all we do is laugh, and it was just, we were maniacs. I remember Ben and Dylan coming in and just laughing at like, or like wondering if we'd lost our minds because we were laughing so hard. But it was like, we didn't need podcasts, we didn't need anything. We would just be working on our screens and talking to each other. So that was basically my day-to-day. Dylan and Ben are really great because the other thing that I can say to them about them is I found that with people that are really talented in life, and they make really good leaders in many ways. Obviously, talent doesn't automatically mean that you become a good leader because it takes certain other skill sets. But the one thing I can say about them is that they don't let ego get in the way because they know they're good and they're not out there to prove to you that they know how to paint better than you. So they give you a lot of responsibility and they empower you. And I really felt like they just, they're like, hey, you designed this set here. I'm trying not to say anything NDA. So, because the movies aren't out yet. But basically, like, go here and go to the 3D side and just help oversee, like, make sure that the design that Jim signed off on gets pushed through, and they build it sort of, somewhat like what we wanted. And then, of course, Ben and Dylan come in and they properly art direct and production design it. But, you get to help take the first stab at it so they can come in and kind of massage it to the final nth degree. But I would say Lightstorm, nothing but good words about.
Awesome. And by the way, just for the one guy that asked, it's Dylan Cole, who's the other production designer. So it's Ben Proctor and Dylan Cole, the two production designers on Avatar.
Yeah.
And another question from Mateo. It says, hey, Anis, what is your advice for a student who is looking for an internship?
So internship, the one advice I have is start posting today. Like, the one thing that I learned early on was, like, the only person that can disappoint you is you. Stop, like, the one thing I had to learn was don't blame anyone else but yourself. I'm not saying be overly hard on yourself, but hold yourself accountable. And the only person that can get you work is you. And no company owes you anything. No one cares about you. And I know that sounds dark, but I'm actually trying to give you a positive side of it, because this will make you a bit more adaptable and sort of immortal in the long run when you understand that. So to get an internship, just you invite what you put out, right? So if you're putting out work every single day, let the work come to you. To this day, I haven't applied for a single job because, and I will say, I did apply for jobs even when I was a professional, and I got rejected because there's just too much competition when you apply. And why not make it easy on yourself by working your ass off every single day and getting out there, posting every single day. And before you know it, that internship, you won't even probably have to do an internship. You'll probably just go straight to professional. But when it comes to internships, I never actually interned at any company. Scott Robertson, he just kind of hired, I guess you can say, but he was my professor at the times. But I would say, like, invite the work to yourself. Put your work out there. The work will come. And make sure you commit to posting every single day. That's the biggest favor you can do for yourself.
Cool. For one more question from Sina, it said, did you set up the bridge for Photoshop or just do a quick edit?
Yes, sorry. So Control Tab, go into File Paths, and just find, if you can have Photoshop, you can have GIMP, you can have any painting program. It doesn't matter what it is. It'll open it up for you. So just list it here, and it'll get it. And then when you press external quick edit, it'll, immediately find that for you.
All right. From B Can. First of all, thank you, Anis, for all the knowledge you shared with us, and thank you, Gav, for organizing this. What is the best career advice you have ever received, Anis?
Best career advice that I've ever received. Oh, yeah. Well, you remember, Gav, like when we were in Art Center and we were students, people always said, don't be an asshole.
Yes.
And I would say that is still to this day the best advice that you can possibly receive, because our industry is large, but it's also very small the higher you go. And the bigger of an asshole you are, people like working with nice people. And I can't tell you how many times I've been on a movie or a game and they're like, hey, do you guys know anyone? We need someone to do vehicles. And I'll be like, oh yeah, I know this guy, X, or this girl, XYZ. Like, I love her stuff. And they're like, okay, cool, love her stuff. But are they cool though? Like, are they nice? Are they an asshole? And, and then other people are in the room. And that's like literally the first question they ask. And it's natural because you don't want to bring a psychopath or sexual predator into your midst. And so then you say, no, this guy, well, I can't vouch for him. Oh, I heard this. And I can't tell you how many times you recommend someone and someone else has a negative thing and the person's lost a job. Like, it's a spark that happened and it was snuffed out within the seconds in the room. So your reputation is your biggest defense, I would say, or your biggest friend.
Yeah, 100% agree. All right, let me see. One more question from Leader Lab. I said, would you say the heavy poly config makes this whole technique process easier or smoother?
No, it doesn't. I mean, there's Jama, he doesn't use heavy poly, and personally, just there's a learning curve with Blender regardless, with heavy poly or normal Blender, right? I would say, sorry, I burped there by accident. I would say that it doesn't really matter. You don't need heavy poly. It's just what I took Vaughn's class. It's like a 8-week course, and so he had his script, and I just learned his shortcuts, and I just committed to it, and I did it. But the thing is, even though a lot of people were complaining, oh, Vaughn's stuff, if you take his stuff, then if you follow other tutorials, you won't be able to follow along. That's only true for the first month or two. But now that I know Blender, I literally, all I do is YouTube tutorials all day, or read Blender docs, because now you understand where everything is. And if you ever have a question, you can go into your key map while following a tutorial and look at the key binding or the actual name, grease pencil, and then it'll just list all this stuff. And with that, let me just bring up my software notes, Blender Shortcuts Master. So I've just made this here. And this is a cheat sheet. And whenever I'm working or whenever I go on YouTube and I find something, Lino Grandi, I really liked his tutorial on Octane for a sketch look. I still haven't tried it myself. But I just make a master file and I just keep it in here. And then whenever I need something, first thing I do is go in here and type in individual origin. And did I spell that? Oh, I spelled it wrong. There. So, I can just quickly find shortcuts here. So just come up with a little bit of a system. But you don't need heavy poly. It's just what I prefer. But, Jama doesn't prefer it. He uses normal Blender, and he's great at it. So whatever.
All right. There's one more question, although I think that this maybe it's a bit combined to the previous one you have already answered. It says, what should one do if they want to work on cool projects like these with you? I would say maybe we can So, I guess like you kind of answered it about the internship question.
Yeah, if you exactly you get the work that you put out. So you're never going to get hit up for a science fiction, Marvel movie if all you have is like cartoony stuff in your portfolio, or you don't post. Like no one knows you exist. So get out there, be your best publisher, your publicist, and promote yourself. You're your best agent, and commit to excellence every single day. And this is something that I wanted to mention, and this may sound a little hokey pokey, but I would like the one thing that did change my life and change my mood was when I was in my mid-20s. It sounds like we're kind of nearing the end of the questions, so I'll just impart with this. I did a lot of bad loop thinking, and I used to think that nihilism was cool. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm so fucking badass. Like, I'm way more enlightened than all these other people that are, they're all positive, right? That's easy. Being positive is easy. But me, like, I know the real truth. Like, I'm cool. But the thing is, in my 30s, I realized that being positive, and I know this is obvious, but it's just I can't compute it or translate it well enough for you guys. But being positive is what takes hard work every single day. And that's super important. You have to fix your diet. You have to fix and I know I'm digressing from the question here. But the most important thing that I realized was your friends, the people in the company you keep. And this is, again, an old quote. You hear these quotes and they don't make any sense to you until they resonate with you on a personal level. But if you got a lot of negative people around you, you're going to become negative. And that's just the key of it. And if they're not supporting you and they're making jibes at you and telling you, why are you posting every day? You're being a hoe. Well, you know what? They don't want to post. They don't want to see excellence in their life. Well, you just move on, because the next thing you know, those voices, they get in your head and they infect your mind. And once they infect your mind, they become part of that Birdman voice that says you're nothing, you're this and you're that. And everyone struggles with it. So I'm not going to pretend I'm unique. But the one thing that I did do was I started looking and reading books outside of concept art. So I know Tony Robbins, people have a lot of problems with him. Like they say he's a hack and, all this other stuff. But I personally, I'll take anything positive that anyone says these days. And Tony Robbins has a good book out there. There's Mastery, a book called Mastery. There's a book called Going Pro by Stephen Pressfield, The Art of War by Stephen Pressfield. And I literally every single day, every single night, I try to read a few pages from some of these books. There's another, Napoleon Hill. The title's kind of cheesy. It's called Think and Grow Rich, but stay with me. It's basically saying exactly what I said. You get what you put out. So there isn't, the secret. There is no secret. The secret is you put in the work and you get what you put in. And if you repeatedly find yourself, and maybe there is something about like energy you put it into the universe, and there's some vibrations. I don't want to get into that mystical stuff because I don't believe in it, but you get what I mean. Like if I want to become a commercial director, well, I'm going to make a short film and I'm going to put it out there, and I don't need anyone's permission except my own to put it out there. And if it's shit, it's shit, whatever. Make another one. And that's exactly how you do it with concept art. You want to make a painting, you make a painting, and tonight you make another one, tomorrow you make another one, and you just commit. And that's what the book called Going Pro by Stephen Pressfield is about. It's about becoming a professional. And becoming a professional is you're becoming every single day. You wake up and you commit to the task like a professional. And you just go to work and you make it happen, whether you're happy, whether you're sad, whether you're angry, whether you have 20 other things to do. You just do it anyway. And that's what Going Pro is about. So
cool. So one more question here. It says, one second. It says, what would your advice be for a learning path in concept art? What are the most important tools and skills a concept artist must have, both technically and theoretically? I guess, again, some of this is Anis kind of answered, but
Yeah.
if you want to touch base on, like, I guess if you want to talk about specifically
Yeah.
tools, I guess, or...
Okay. So it's crazy and amazing to grow up with people that are growing up right now, but in Blender and everything. But I also sort of feel bad for I'm jealous and feel bad for the generation that's growing up right now through this, because they're overwhelmed, but also at the same time, they have such amazing technology. So I would say Gavriil and everyone that I grew up with and came up with, we all focused on the fundamentals, and that comes with drawing and painting by hand on paper, because once you have that down, I mean, look at Alberto Mielgo. He doesn't even do 3D, and he's like light years ahead of me, and he knows After Effects, and he gets people to do the stuff that he doesn't know. But if you focus on the fundamentals, if you stop with all the noise, like, I know it's hard. I got caught up in it. But the one thing there are two things I can say. Focus on the fundamentals. And if you're ever trying to learn anything, don't just start random tutorials. First, create a project for yourself. And this doesn't need to be a story. It could be like this. It could be like, I want to make a little animation with a guy walking down the street. And then you're like, okay, cool. Well, how do I make buildings? How do I make a lamp? How do I make a fire hydrant? How do I make a street? Like, what does a road look like? And before you know it, you have all these questions. And that's super important, because from those questions, now you go to YouTube. Now you go to Blender docs. Now you go here. Now you watch something else. And everything becomes connected, and it has purpose. And every single time I learned something, I found that was the secret. And every time I didn't follow that formula, I would end up in like that sort of loop of watching tutorials and nothing sticks, and you're just watching them like you're watching Netflix, you know?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. So one more question from Pally. It says, hey, Anis, I want to ask, what do you think is the best thing to have in your portfolio for breaking into the film industry?
Well, that's a hard one, because the film industry has the union, which is the 800 Guild, and that kind of stops a lot of people from getting in, and it's a little tough, and especially with COVID right now, a lot of films are shut down. But let's pretend COVID wasn't here, and just to answer your question, so I'm not dodging it. Best thing, a lot of environments do really well, I would say. If you have a lot of environments, but there's need for vehicles, there's need for characters, but like, I would say the best for me in my experience has been environments, sci-fi, fantasy, just things that try to, like, the more, and this may sound amorphous to you, but the more design stuff that you have that show your design thinking is better than like photo bashing stuff from The Walking Dead. Like creating current day sets won't get you jobs on the next Marvel movie, because anyone can do that. Everyone, like, that stuff is great, but it's wherever you want to work, whatever you want to do, that's the stuff you should be putting out and just busting ass every day to make sure you're the best at it.
So one more question from Aquizar. It says, hi, Anis, how do you manage your render passes on Blender? For concept art, I tend to stick to color clown, ambient, and do paint overs, but I end up with the 80-20 ratio with 3D versus painting. This has been a recent shift for me from full painting method.
Yeah. So first thing I do is I sketch a lot before I do my 3D stuff. I'll make like post-it drawings on my table. I have these like yellow pads, and I'll throw those away after I'm done. But I'll sketch that idea, then I'll go in Photoshop and do like a quick mock-up real quick, like top down, and I'll have what I want to do in 3D. And I make sure that, and with Blender, let me try to open up a scene here that isn't from professional work just so I can show. But if you just go, actually, I don't even need to do that. Let's just go to Control Tab, System, Optics. I found this to actually be a really good way to get the really cool noise in your scene, like a denoising tool that actually makes your painting look your render look painterly. So I intentionally keep my samples under my render passes. Where is it again? Somewhere here. If you set this to cycles, so let's go to, sorry, where is it again? The samples for, well, adaptive sampling. Okay, now I'm panicking because I can't find the samples for the optics. But also this is grease pencil, so I probably wouldn't do it anyway. But basically it makes it all look like kind of blurry but sharp at the same time with enough details. So that really helps me do the paint overs. And I think that's what John, a lot of the Last of Us guys, who was it? Antoine Boutin, ArtStation. Let's go to his ArtStation. I actually saw the exact effect in his recent art. It was like a bedroom piece that he did, which is beautiful. Where did it go? Was it him? Now I can't find it. Wait. Well, Jan Urschel has a tutorial on it, so we could just Urschel Optics. Let's just go to his real quick. There we go. Nice. Now I don't have to struggle in front of you guys. So you can see here, his samples are a little too high, but if you were to lower these, it would become a little bit more painterly looking. And I found that really helps for me going into Photoshop. That should answer your question, I think.
Okay, sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so from one more question from Alec. It says, thank you for sharing. I was wondering if there's any design and art books that you would recommend.
I actually don't own many design or art books. I have a ton that I never look at. Sorry. I don't own, like, I usually buy like photography books and stuff. So there's this guy, Gregory, Beneath the Roses is the book. And so Joseph Kodelka is one of my favorite photographers. Let me Google his name real quick. I love his photos. So I try not to, I guess this falls into art, so I lied. But when I hear you say art, I immediately think you're probably thinking concept art or like, like directly drawing related. But this guy is a genius. His photos, like there's one called, where is it? What are the names of some of his books? Because I can't remember the one I have. I have Ruins and Chaos. But there's this, and then there's Gregory Beneath the Roses, Gregory Crutzen. These are my two favorite photographers, and I've subtly ripped them off many times. Not directly, of course, just like very heavily inspired by their work. Super great. So I would say, again, just so your stuff doesn't look like very much. And I would say like my Pinterest boards, they're like instead of books these days, art books, I just make a ton of my own Pinterest boards, and they're super helpful. So, yeah.
Awesome. All right, let me see. So one question from Tensor Sensei. It says, do you have any tips for posting, such as the time and which sites, whether or not to post on a schedule? I'm also working on a project and I want to post it online until it's basically done, but I have a bunch of stuff already done for it. Is it a better idea to start posting it earlier? I was planning finishing up by the end of this year. Blah, blah, with my class with James Beck Brainstorm. So yeah, it's about basically the basically posting online, scheduling and stuff like that.
Well, I know that there are analytics out there, and apparently Monday at 9 or 11 a.m. is, according to all these Instagrammers, that is the best time, but I never post on. I don't care about anything. Like, because the posting isn't about the numbers for me. It's about my commitment to myself and your commitment to staying alive and working and creating and continuing your journey. So you may post something, like if you don't post now, and when by the time you're finished with your project, you're going to post your final project, and I don't know who you are. I don't know how big of, if you have any following, but it seems like you're putting a lot of importance on numbers and likes. And while that's important, it also gets in your head and it'll mess you up real bad. So I would say, don't worry about that. Post every day. And I still try as hard as I can, and I get sucked into it all the time. Don't look at the likes. Don't look at the numbers. Do it for yourself. And there's one purpose, and that purpose is getting work and staying working. And so what if you don't have a few million followers? Just keep going. And if you wait to post your finished project and you don't get the feedback or response that you thought, you're going to think that you suck, which you don't, I'm sure. And you're probably going to stop posting again. And that's not the point of posting. Again, I have to repeat, like, I hope to drive this home. The point of posting is to get your name out there. And the point of posting isn't to do it once or twice. It's to do it every day or every other day. And it's not about the likes. It's about getting work. So as soon as you can, like, remember that and keep that in mind, then the likes matter less, because you're working, you're showing yourself to professionals out there that are looking, and that's really the goal.
Yeah, and also Anis can confirm here that there's like a lot of people that work in, say, like both the movie industry or like, you know, even game companies that like you never heard of, because like they're not even online and they're like super good. Like there's like some super good people that you know barely have any work online, but they just work. So
I've found some people in the movie industry where I was like, there's this guy named Crash McCreary. He's like one of the best concept artists I've ever seen, and I never saw his work. And he still doesn't have work online. And he's like head of VizDev at Universal at the moment or something. But
yeah. All right, so let me see. Okay, so one question from Eddie. It says, hi, Anissa, I was wondering if you have any advice for someone that wants to prepare a portfolio for Riot Games as an environment concept artist. What kind of skills should I focus on showing in the portfolio?
Not too much photo bashing. They really like the painterly stuff. So try to paint whatever you can. And look at look up artists that already work at Riot Games, because each studio is very particular about their style. So you'd want to, like, I'm not saying copy those people, because obviously when you apply, those people are going to see your portfolio. But you kind of want to get an idea of what they're looking for. So if you're very, like, zoned in on working at Riot, then yeah, maybe like look at some of the portfolios. But then you look at June On, his portfolio doesn't look anything like a lot of the other portfolios, and he was like one of the A-listers at Riot before he left. So again, I would say, like, my advice to you, instead of focusing on a company, focus on your work, and you can get stuck in this loop of copying other styles, and very soon you're like a snake eating its own tail, and you won't know why you're doing it, and you'll lose heart, and you'll start comparing yourself to others. So I would say, after having said what I said about Riot, like, you know, they like to paint early, so you can look at like some of the artists that work there. Just go on ArtStation and look it up. And I know Ate Gailon works there, and he's got great work. But if you look at him, he's very versatile, characters, environments, but a lot of it's painted, not a lot of photo bashing.
Yeah. I just want to add something though, like that you shouldn't feel bad. Like, I think it's fair to say that when you're a student, like I think me and Nis both did it, is that it's normal when you're a student or like you're just starting out, like to tend to like sort of like copy or like be influenced by someone you like, and like maybe your portfolio initially will like kind of look like the bad version of like someone you really like, and that's normal. And then like as you evolve and get better, then you'll find your own style. But you know, it's kind of like me and Anis and a lot of other people, like really early on, like for instance, we were kind of all trying to basically copy Scott Robertson, who was our teacher at the time, right? So don't feel too bad about it.
And don't like, if it's okay to copy, but then, you know, everyone out there knows who you're copying, so don't pretend that you didn't copy. And just embrace it. Be like, I'm really inspired by Jama this week, and like, I love his work, and here's like something inspired by him, and no one's gonna fault you, but you will get shit on if you don't and pretend like you like a Mike Andrew Nash robot. You copy it exact 1-to-1 and then say it's yours.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so a question from Zoni or Zonai, I'm not sure. It says, thanks for presentation. What do you think about the lightness of most of the subject matter in big popular entertainment? Do you ever struggle with that? I guess it's talking about like how lighthearted themes are in some of the big blockbusters, maybe.
Oh,
if I had to guess what he means by lightness.
I'm not sure, but if you want to clarify, you can, but we'll just go with what Gav just said with interpretation. So yeah, I mean, I don't want to say anything negative about big blockbusters, but I don't really watch them because of that. I do like a bit more of the depressing stuff. It feels more real to me, and a bit more. Sorry, one second. My wife's calling, so I don't know if it's an emergency.
Yeah, no worries.
Give me a second.
Well, while Anis answers, I'll just tell you that I remember that the TV shows right now, like streaming and all this stuff, is sort of taken over that aspect a bit. Like, you know, all of the movies that used to be a bit more sort of sophisticated and had like, you know, sort of deeper plots and whatever. I mean, there's some out there, but like a lot of the stuff is also moved to streaming as well. So you can find like some really good, some really good stuff on streaming services these days.
Okay. Yeah, I'm back. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, if there aren't any more questions,
I think we have just one last one, and then we're done. And we're just gonna take this last one, and then we're done. Cool. This is from Rioma. It says, "Hi, Anis, thanks for the presentation. How do you handle the challenge of having your eye develop faster than your execution? How do you take the steps to compartmentalizing the challenge of matching the two skills?"
Well, if your eye is developing faster than your skill sets, that's always a good thing, because that means you have better ideas than you can paint. So then you only have one problem to worry about, which is execution. So get on it. Like, your art will be unique, and that's a great problem to have. And again, stop comparing yourself to other artists. And like Simon Stollenhag, everyone knows him, and he doesn't paint like any concept artist. I mean, everyone was following Craig Mullin's style, and he was like, F it, I'm just going to paint the way I want to. And he painted like, you know, a style that wasn't popular at the time. Now it is. Like, people try to copy him. But yeah, so just, again, focus on the fundamentals, focus on the idea, and the rest will follow. I'm not sure how else to answer the question.
Yeah, no, that's a good answer. Well, guys, thank you so much to everyone that has tuned in. Thank you so much, Anis, for taking time out of your schedule to present here today. We found out today that I guess Discord has a limit to 50 people to be able to watch the stream. So next time we do one, we'll make sure that we have basically multiple restreams so that no one is going to have this issue. As mentioned, we're going to have this sort of thing going on now, like roughly once a week. Our next guest is going to be John Park, who's going to do a live painting for like an hour and a half. We're going to post that as usual in the server announcement. And yeah, like we're going to also try to record these and put them up in a channel that we're going to create so that if people have missed it, they can watch them there. So again, thank you so much.
Oh, I have one thing I wanted to promote, if that's cool.
Oh yeah, totally cool. Go ahead, of course.
Patreon.com/Naeem. I started it today, and just if you want to learn more about the stuff, then you can come watch me here. And I'll be posting on social media, but I'll be putting, I think I'm gonna like avoid Gumroad for a bit, and because people said the prices were too high, so for $10 a month, I'll be posting a bunch of stuff here.
Yeah. So follow Anis on all of his social media. Anis, feel free to post your links if you want, also in the Q&A chat as well.
Sure.
But anyway, yeah. So that wraps it up. Thank you again. Thank you guys. Thank you guys again so much, and I'll see you guys very soon with John Park in about a week or so.
Thanks
So
everyone.
thanks Anis. Thanks guys. Thank you everyone. Bye.
Yeah. Fun.
Bye.
Bye.